All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hate to be the one that always breaks up all the wonderful conversations because that is a beautiful sound. It is worship. It is fellowship. And so I hate to do it, but it is important. We want to be really responsive and respectful of everyone's time. So if you can grab your seats, we are going to get started. I was going to introduce myself, but apparently my name's on the screen. It's good to be with you all this morning again. Yeah, as it says, my name's Phil Washburn. I'm one of the elders here. I have a pleasure of helping to serve this community and serve each and every one of you as a church family. So first of all, just wanted to thank you all so much for the engagement, the questions, the comments, the feedback over the last month. It's been really awesome. We have so appreciated as an elder board being able to hear and interact, and it's one of those, there's so few of us, there's 6 of us and so many of you. It's hard to have those one-on-one conversations with all of you, and so we're so grateful that you all are still using the Heritage Next form as a way to engage with us. It lets us know what you're thinking, what's going on in your hearts, the questions you have, and so we're so grateful for that. Also, for those of you who did ask a question, we hope by now, I believe, we've answered all of those questions. We've been working really hard, and I have to give Susan Willicke all the props for you. She is amazing at how good she is at coming up with quick answers and keeping us moving as an elder board on making sure that everybody who has submitted a question is getting a response in a timely manner. So hopefully you've gotten that. If you haven't gotten a response, you had a question, it's probably because we didn't know who you were. And so if you have questions, if there's still anything that's still outstanding, even after today, please continue to use that Heritage Next form, and please put your email address and your name in there. It allows us to know who you are so that we can make sure you get a timely response. Okay, so with that aside, I'm going to just jump right in and say I'm happy to announce that Pastor Joel Wood has accepted the call to become the next lead pastor of Heritage Christian Church. And as you all know, this has been a long process. And I've been chatting with Joel off and on for the last probably 3.5 months. And I know he went through about 2 months of interviews prior to him even being introduced to us. So he has been in this journey for a very long time, and he is excited and he is ready to go. You know, we spent a lot of time and a lot of investment in this whole process. And it really came down to, there was 3 things that when we looked at Joel and what was most important to us as a congregation, that he really exemplified. And the first is, we are a congregation that is driven by biblical teaching. And so whoever our next lead pastor was, that absolutely had to be an essential part of who they are. Someone who can handle the word rightly, who can preach well, who can engage us, help us to understand the words that God is saying to us through those scriptures, and keeping us focused on the gospel each and every weekend. That's the first thing that we really saw in Joel. The second thing is we wanted someone who is a big tent pastor. We are a very diverse body here at Heritage. We have a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different backgrounds, there's well over 100 different denominations represented in this congregation as our background and as our heritage. And so we are such a diverse group, and so we needed a pastor who could understand that and who could appreciate that and who could, shepherd us that as we navigate life, as we navigate the gospel and figuring out what it looks like to live this out well, we can do it even with our differences and take that into consideration and help us to navigate that and then value that in each other. And we definitely saw that in Joel. And then finally, we wanted a strong leader to help take Heritage into that next chapter of our future. And the more and more time we spent with Joel, it became very, very clear that he had the passion, the vision, and the energy to go where we feel God is calling Heritage. And so we're so excited that he is going to be with us. We would love to have had Joel here this morning so we could all just celebrate with him. Unfortunately, he is literally right now, as we speak, preaching at his church and sharing this news with his congregation. And so you can be praying for him, because I can imagine, after the many years of serving that congregation, that's going to be a really challenging, service for him. But in lieu of that, he did share with us a brief video. So if you turn your attention to the screen to hear from Pastor Joel Wood.
Hey Heritage, I wanted to take a second and introduce myself. My name is Joel Wood, and I am thrilled to be the next lead pastor of Heritage Christian Church. For those of you who weren't able to be there when our family was in a few weeks ago, I just wanted to let you know a little bit about us. Like I said, my name's Joel. My wife's name is Ashley. We have 4 incredible kiddos. Jackson is our oldest, then Jonah, James, and Juliet. We are a family of 6, and we are so excited to join you and to join the mission God has called Heritage to. I have been in ministry for about 18 years. I've served in lots of different roles. I've been a youth pastor in Texas, which is kind of where we view ourselves from. But for the last 7 years, I have been in the Denver, Colorado area, serving as a lead pastor at a church here. And really are excited with where the Lord is leading us and can't wait to be with you. I also wanted to take a few minutes and answer some frequently asked questions. I know you guys have been submitting questions to the elder board, and I'm sure you have lots of questions for me. And so I thought it would be a good idea just to answer some of those questions, maybe a few others, to let you find out a little bit more about me as I step into this new role. So the first question is, what motivated me to pursue a new church? I think the easiest and simplest, but also the truest answer is, man, it really is just following the will of God. We have loved our time here, and we have loved the people that we have served alongside and with, and those that we have shepherded. But the truth is, about a year ago, we sensed God calling us into a new context and began praying earnestly about what that would look like for our family. And after a lengthy process of prayer and searching, we found this church that seemed to really align with where we felt like God was calling us toward this a mission in a community that was not a place, honestly, that we were looking for, but a place that felt like this is exactly where God is calling us. It wasn't anything out of personal ambition, but the truth is, it's conviction. My calling in life is to the gospel of Jesus Christ, into leading the local church, into spreading the gospel of Jesus, both locally and around the world. And so the community of Heritage truly aligns with what we feel in that, and we feel like God was calling us into that, and feel like it's a great match for us as we move to the Westerville area and to Heritage. The next question is there any way to predict how long you will stay? If I'm honest, I think every pastor job I've ever accepted, they have asked this question. And it's a legitimate question, because people don't want someone who's going to show up and in a year or two, they're just leaving. And I'll say it this way. Ministry is about relationship. It's not about resume building. It's not about looking for, hey, this is a pit stop. And that's how we've approached ministry. That's how I've approached ministry my entire 18 years in ministry. It's about a commitment of walking with a community and leading that community. It's not about being part of that community and just bouncing a few years later. And so any place that we have moved, the plan isn't that there's an exit plan. The plan is, hey, is this a place that our family can be? Is this a church that our family can grow in? Is this a place that the Holy Spirit has led us to? And my hope, honestly, is to be a pastor who stays, who loves deeply, who serves faithfully, And on a practical side, one of the prayers that I've asked God is, man, I've got 4 kids, and I want to see all 4 of my kids graduate high school before we move again. And so our plan is that this move is a long-term move for us. So we are looking forward to being able to plant some roots in Central Ohio and to not just invest in a church, but really invest in a community and love that community for Jesus. The next question is, this church may be larger than where you currently are. Are you comfortable leading a more complex church system? And if I'm honest, I truly do believe that size matters less than clarity of mission. Heritage's focus on worship, on community, on missions is the kind of thing that I not only want to be a part of, but I long to steward as a leader and a pastor, whether that is a large church or a small church. I have experience in both large and church organizations, systems, in leading teams and staff, volunteers, and just caring for people in both. So it's not something that's new to me, but it is something that I'm excited about, not because of a size change, but because of the mission God has called us to. The next question is, does your vision align with Heritage's missions posture? And I cannot emphasize enough how important this was for our decision that Heritage was the right church for our family. I can tell you story after story about how God has personally impacted me through missions and the mission field. I grew up a grandchild of missionaries to Thailand. My grandparents moved into medical missions in Thailand in the 60s. My mom grew up on the missions field. It is kind of our family business. Ministry and missions is what we do. And it has been a huge part of my ministries, both going on mission trips, leading teams, helping develop local mission outreaches and initiatives and partnerships. And it is a heartbeat of who I am as a follower of Jesus. I believe that we should all be living out Matthew 28, where we go in the world, make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey all that Jesus has commanded us. And I also believe in Acts 1:8, and that when we receive that Holy Spirit in us, that he gives us that power to go and be his witnesses in Jerusalem and Judea and all of Samaria and to the ends of the earth, which if you look at, starts at home and then moves outward to the outer reaches of the world. And I don't think that's optional for believers. Our mission in life, our approach to missions as a church is one where we go, where we share the gospel, where we tell other people about Jesus and the saving grace that he brings each one of us. The next question is, does your vision align with Heritage's commitment to racial equality and biblical justice? Absolutely. Biblical justice flows from the character of who God is and the dignity he gives to every person. We are all created in the image of God. When we get to come together, the kingdom of heaven is a diverse group, and when we have a commitment to racial equality, to biblical justice, when we have a commitment to racial reconciliation, we step into kingdom footprints, and it allows us to heal wounds here that unites us for a greater cause in Jesus. The church should not only talk about this, it's not only something we should preach on Sunday mornings, it's something we should model. We need to model reconciliation for the world around us. In a world that is so divided, the church has this really unique position that, hey, the love of Jesus is greater than what divides us. In fact, it's so great that it unifies us. And we get to be the model for that, for the world around us, for our kids, to the outer reaches of the world. And I think it's a posture that is important for every church to have. The next question is, what is your comfort and theology around Heritage's elder-led model that prioritizes diversity and includes men and women elders? I truly, truly value elder leadership in a church. It is my preferred model of leadership. It's something that I have been blessed to see modeled extremely healthily in my ministry and been able to be a part of as an elder at a previous church, at the church I currently am leaving. And I think that it creates an accountability structure across the church that is healthy, and then it creates an accountability structure for a lead pastor, but also for the church itself. And it's one that specifically I was searching for when we started looking at, hey, where's this next place God has for us? We're not sure, but we know one of the things that's important to us is that it is elder-led because of that. And I think that the diverse leadership really does reflect the body of Christ and helps the church lead in wisdom and unity. You know, when I sit in an elder meeting, I only sit with my perspective. Being able to hear this perspective from people who are in different cultures than I am, who are not men, who are women as well. I think that when we include the diversity and both men and women in that room, what we get is a better picture of the kingdom God has called us to serve, but also a better picture of where God has called us to go. And there is wisdom that we can learn from one another, and especially when the room of people doesn't look just like us. And I think that's true in an elder meeting. I think that's true on staff. I think that's true in our small groups, our mission trips, and however we function as a church. That we are better when we are together, but different. When we are unified past our differences in the body of Christ and as the body of Christ to the world around us. So the last question is, how can you best help welcome us and our family? I think that the best thing that you can do, the thing that we absolutely need the most, is prayer. Prayer for us as we transition and move from Colorado to Central Ohio. As many of you can know or guess, there's a lot of moving components with that. And so we just would ask that if you would be praying for us as we try to finish things here well and get ready for a new season that's exciting. You can also introduce yourselves when we get in town. I would love to hear your stories. I would love the opportunity to hear what God has done in your life and what led you to be a part of Heritage. And really, for us, that helps us just learn the heartbeat of the church. And then invite us into life, into community. I love coffee. I love sitting down and hearing someone's story over a cup of coffee. So I'm asking, don't be a stranger. I don't feel like that you can't approach me. And I know it's going to be a lot at the beginning, but that is both a little bit overwhelming, but a lot of exciting. And the other thing is, I truly do love Buckeyes, the candies, and I definitely ate more than I should have when I was in Ohio and brought some back to Colorado and ate some. So I'm never afraid to accept peanut butter and chocolate mixed together. So hey, thank you guys so much again. I am honored. I've been praying for you. I truly do believe that God has some incredible things that he wants to do through us as a church as we look to him for that next place that he is leading us. I cannot wait to be there in person and to see you in person. I am praying for you, know that, and really excited to be your next lead pastor.
Well, I hope you've gotten to see just even a little bit in just that few moments of why we're just so excited to have Joel joining us here at Heritage. And least, of course, is the fact that he is continuing the tradition of speaking with an accent. So we're going to have that little West Texas twang now as a part of the congregation. So something we get to look forward to. So, well, we thought about what do we do after sharing such news like this? And we simply think the best thing to do is just to open it up for questions. So I'm going to invite Zoe, who is one of the pastors here. She was a member of the search committee and, has been involved in this process for a long time. And then, of course, Bruce, who's currently serving as our lead elder, to join us as well. And we're just going to open it up for questions for the next, maybe 40 minutes, if you guys have that many questions. If not, we'll get on to celebrating a lot sooner. And we got some great plans for that. But we got Dustin, we got Ro. So if you just want to slip your hand up, and we're going to start getting the questions from you all, and we're going to try to answer best we can.
I would ask, what is his college and seminary training?
Yeah, so he has a very extensive, and I don't remember the names of the universities, but he has a bachelor's degree in biblical studies. He has a master's of divinity, and then he has a doctorate in organizational leadership. He is a seminary professor as well, and so he actually teaches at the seminary level, and so he's very well educated, that was one of the things that was very important to us as a church. His bio, I believe, is going to be sent out, and it'll have some of that information in it. But
I think all of us would like to know when.
That is a great question. So his first official day with us will be March 16th. That doesn't mean he's going to be with us on March 16th, but that'll be the first day in which he is going to be serving as our lead pastor. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of details in the transition. His first weekend with us, which he will be preaching, is Easter weekend. And so we can look forward to that. What that next season looks like is still being worked out. As you can imagine, moving a family across the country, especially so close to the end of the school year, adds some unique challenges that we're being really supportive and trying to help his family end well and in a healthy place so that they can land here well. And so lots of details still to be worked out. He will be with us for sure on the weekend of the 22nd. He'll be here at Heritage, but his first weekend preaching will be Easter weekend.
Has he found a home?
No. They are going to be coming at some point here, I think in the next few weeks. They have spring break, and so they're going to be coming to get all of those wonderful details worked out. Other question? Back in the corner.
I'm really excited to turn this page in Heritage's history. Really excited as with Joel as a candidate. I was just wondering if you would be willing to comment on your plan to continue to communicate. I feel like through this process, we've identified a lot of questions, concerns, just areas of growth as a church. And will we continue to have these meetings, the elder update email, all of these things? Just if you have a comment on future plans there.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we're open to continuing that. I think we have learned in this process, right, that it's so hard when you have a large church with a small group of elders to even know who they all are, right? And so continuing to have opportunities for you all to get to know us as elders, for us to be able to communicate, for us to be able to gather and share with one another. I think that's something that we all value. And so I don't think we have specific plans nailed down, but we also know during this transition, there's going to still need to be a lot of things that we share in the coming weeks and the coming months. And so I think that's fair to be expected.
Hi, for somebody that works the desk, you going to bring back anything for Saturday nights?
That is a great question that once Joel gets here, obviously there's going to be a lot of things that he's going to want to get his head around in Heritage. And so that is probably going to be one of those things that we will take a look at. Obviously, during this transition season, we have taken the Saturday night service off because it was going to be very, very difficult for all of these guest preachers to be able to come and speak on a Saturday night and to do 2 services on Sunday. So it really made sense for us to go ahead and shut that down. Obviously, once Joel arrives, as we go through the process, there's going to be a lot of things like that we're going to take a look at and say, what's best for Heritage moving forward? And how do we make sure we're caring for everybody in the congregation in the best way that we can?
What's your anticipation of the role of his wife?
So at Heritage, our anticipation of the pastor's wife is that she is the pastor's wife. In many congregations, it's very common to have these expectations of the pastor's wife that we don't believe are fair. We hired Joel to be our lead pastor, and her role is to love her husband and her family to the best of her ability. And in the areas where God has called her to serve, she is free to serve however she chooses. But we have no expectations of what her role would look like. That's between her and God, just like each and every one of us as members of Heritage, trying to walk out the ways that God has called us to serve and love the body.
Has Heritage defined what success would look like under new leadership in business world, we might call that KPIs or something like that.
Yes.
Does such a thing exist in heritage world?
Yes, that's a really great question. So obviously, as a part of this process, we put together a very extensive job description. It's about 4.5 pages long. Obviously, there's a lot in that, and from that, we will develop, a series of things along the way to kind of measure Joel's progress and the church's progress. And that's something that we're going to develop together. One of the things we really loved about Joel as we were just getting to know him is, he wasn't a big fan of the annual review. And at first you're like, what do you mean? He actually prefers like monthly or quarterly. He wants to stay engaged in conversation with the elder board to understand his performance, how he feels like he's doing, how we feel like he's doing. And actually, I think that's a really healthy thing. And so in that process, obviously his first 90 days, we've been very clear to him, it's about getting to know Heritage. It's about getting to know the systems and the processes to see, before you can ever, make any recommendations for change, you really just got to get to know and understand. And so that's going to be that first 90 days. But when it comes to the vision of Heritage, which we laid out, I hate to say it, almost a year ago? How long has it been, Bruce? A long time ago. Joel is 100% behind that, and he loves it. And obviously, we've already been taking steps towards that. What we're really excited is to bring in his strategic thinking, his visionary leadership to help really provide fuel to the great work that the leadership team has already been doing in that space.
Okay. Question I have is a lot of the things he said up there that were reiterations of what we are currently involved in, and that he believes in that wholeheartedly. The one thing that I didn't hear, which I am very much involved in and really see it as a part of discipleship, is the healing care ministry. And just wanted to know if those discussions have come up with him, what his thoughts are on that, and maybe because I think it's all part of reaching the world and our discipleship. So what is the church's belief on that and going forward? Is that going to be part of our church mission?
I'll answer really briefly on behalf
Some
of the
people may not understand what I mean by healing
care. Yeah,
So-
the healing care ministry. One of the ministries, and it's taken various forms. The THC groups, right? The THG. Thank you, THC. No, that's not right. That's a little different. Wow. Yeah, thanks.
You're doing a great job.
The THG, the healing care groups. I'll just say, the healing care ministry is important to the elder board, and the specifics, I'm going to ask Zoe, she can speak a little bit more to, as the pastor that oversees spiritual formation here, some of the ways that looks here at Heritage.
Yeah, so it was one of the things that we talked about with Joel when we were interviewing with him. He definitely has a clear mind and clear path for discipleship and spiritual growth. And so we're looking to put some of those things, legs to some of those things. And a lot of those things really Heritage has already been doing, but maybe just not in a formal laid out path. But he's got that kind of strategic thinking in mind that's going to help us well then to self-identify where we are in our own spiritual walk and how we can take the next steps. And then we'll be looking for lots of your help as volunteers to step in and come alongside others who are maybe just newer in their faith, to walk with ones to help them grow and become more like Jesus as we pursue him together.
Thanks, Zoe.
Hey, Phil, a couple of questions, or maybe even three, if I don't let go of this. What's the membership here?
Numbers?
Yeah.
Our active weekend is, around seven something? Yeah, but I think there's around 1,500 folks who are regular kind of cycling in and out over the course of a month. Dustin, that seem about right?
Yeah.
About 1,500 in and out, but an average weekend's around 700 to 800.
Do you know the demographics
Of Heritage?
of Heritage?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's pretty diverse. We have a pretty broad spectrum. I think the average Heritage attendee drives about 20 minutes to come here. And so you could think about, we have people that are really right next door, and we have people that drive, quite a ways to come here. So it's a very diverse from a socioeconomic standpoint, from a location standpoint. It's all over Central Ohio. And as well as, looking at diversity, we have a lot of folks who, from various different cultures who are regular attenders here. And so I don't have the numbers, but it's a very diverse church.
How about approximately as far as people that are seniors, people that are in their 50s, people that are in their 25 to 40? Do you have kind of an idea of that?
I'm going to look to Dustin because he's probably the closest person to. I know we did some of that studies, but it's been a minute. 40%, was it 30? I think it's like we look at it's like 35% or so, 55 up, and then like 35% in that young family to, mid-family range is kind of what we historically are at.
2 more questions, I promise.
Okay.
What's the differential between black and white?
I don't know the exact number. I think it's around 5% was the last number I heard. Is about 5% African American.
And that's important to him to bring more of that into our congregation?
I think it's important to all of us, including him, that we as a congregation at Heritage represent what the kingdom of God is going to look like in the kingdom come. And so whatever that looks like, however he calls us to we're not going to pick and choose. We're going to call everybody in Central Ohio, and black, white, Hispanic, Asian, every nationality, every ethnicity. We want to call all of them to the gospel and to respond to the gospel. And if they choose to come and worship here at Heritage, we're going to worship with them and invite them into the body.
Great answer, Phil. One last question. What will be his salary?
So that is an HR related question, and we actually choose as a congregation to respect him and to respect all of our staff and not disclose salary information.
I grew up watching Phil Donahue, so
Is that a compliment?
absolutely. I just really want to thank you guys and the team. I know it's been extremely hard for you guys. Satan has been working every minute to destroy this church. Thank you for not giving up on us and looking to him each and every day to keep this church going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Hi. So my question is, when he was here and he spoke, one of the things he mentioned that it's important for him to be accepted and to be liked. And so as a leader board, as an elder board, how would you support him in a way where if a tough decision needs to be made, he is able to make that decision accurately and objectively?
That is absolutely a great question. And you could better believe we had a lot of conversations around that, right? All of us, as we go through life, we recognize that there's areas that are our tendencies, especially when we're in stressful moments, right? And it's not necessarily that they're bad things. It's just sometimes in the midst of stress, they can end up coming out in maybe unhealthy ways. And so it's, first of all, the great thing is that he recognizes it, right? I think we all have seen the devastation when a leader doesn't recognize those things about themselves and the devastation that can bring. And so that's important. And then second of all, we had a lot of conversations about what does that look like for us to support him, and what is he, what are some things that he does to put into practice. And I think the thing that, again, anytime you're in leadership, you are frequently asked to do things that are uncomfortable, that aren't your norm, aren't your default, right? And so the fact that he has a history of, even though he knows that that's kind of his background, his bent, he has a history of displaying the ability to speak truth, even when it's uncomfortable. And he has a great support network, and that was something that's very important to us. One of his best friends is actually a pastor here in Central Ohio. And so, he's got ready-made kind of that, support even here locally, which, again, he never would have looked at Central Ohio, wasn't on his radar. And yet here's God's provision in that sense. And so, so there's a lot of really good things there. And of course, as an elder board, that's going to be that area where we get to continue to lean in and journey with him in that process and make sure he can be healthy in that, that it doesn't get into that stress response that can be unhealthy, but he's able to stay strong in that.
This question is kind of along the lines of the healing care group question. I'm super involved with a small group here at Heritage. I think it's really important. It's part of the reason why I'm here. So I was wondering what his experience is with a group that has with a church that has small groups, and whether we anticipate that the support of the small groups continuing going forward.
Yeah, I could tell you, and he shared some of this up there, but there was a list of things actually that are non-negotiables for him and his wife when they were looking at churches, and one of them is investment in small groups. That was something that he believes is very strongly in. He sees that it's a really important part of the spiritual formation and discipleship journey, and so I can tell you he is absolutely committed to small groups. Just like Heritage has been for many, many years. And it's cycled like everything that happens. There's seasons where we're stronger, and there's seasons maybe where we're weaker. But I can tell you he's committed to that. Anything you want to add to that, Zoe?
Yeah, I would just say too that the conversations around our healing care groups, that even though we don't have a current group happening right now, it's not because it's not wanted or not believe that that's an important part of our formation. It just seems like it's a pause right now that we didn't have a whole lot of people filling out the questionnaire to participate, and also leaders that needed to just take a pause. So we're hoping that in the fall that we'll continue on with the healing care groups as we have in the past. You can ask Weldon, you can ask, I don't know, who else was I talking to even this morning about what healing care groups look like going forward. So they're not ended, if that's a concern. They're not ended.
Good. That's kind of a follow-up to my question. I know that we have been so focused on obtaining a new lead pastor that I kind of feel a lot of the things that help a congregation grow have fallen and really decreased, and such as our small groups and different activities that way. And I don't necessarily feel that it's the lead pastor's job to make all of those things happen. He can't possibly come in and do all that right away. And I just wonder if the focus that, whether it be now, the elders can maybe focus on other things besides that search and things that maybe we can, starting right now and not even waiting to the fall, kind of build capacity in that. And I was just really concerned in my heart about those changes that I've seen and with different activities that have fallen aside. And I feel that in my heart, yes, missions are important, and I love that our church is so mission-minded, but I feel that our congregation, in order to be able to reach out and do the missions, we need to be fully fed and fully strengthened in order to go forward. And it's kind of through all those groups and things like that it can happen.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, obviously I think that is, anytime we go through transition, it can be hard, and we have to pick and choose where we're investing time. But I definitely, I'm excited under Zoe's leadership as well. Just where as a church, we, this idea of really focusing on spiritual formation in the various different ways. It's small groups, it's the men's Bible studies, the women's Bible studies, it's THG, it's all of this is part of this process of we want to make sure that as a congregation, everything we are doing is pointing us and helping us to take that next step in our faith journey. And so I appreciate that feedback. I can tell you, small groups are definitely a big part of that, but the whole spiritual formation place is really something that we're putting a lot of emphasis in.
Yeah, and really grateful too, Ann and others who are continuing to lead women's Bible studies, lead the men's Bible studies, facilitate life groups. Like it's not gone unnoticed really that you're carrying, a beautiful and wonderful piece of our body within your homes and around the tables in your small groups. And so we appreciate everybody who's helping still to navigate those spaces.
Okay, we got one more back here.
All right, so it's Adam here. Hi. I've got a question for you. I love this setting that we can ask questions around what's going on, and we've hired Joel. I get that set. Just curious, why didn't we have a session like this prior to hiring Joel so we could all ask some questions and then, we could submit feedback ahead of time or questions, but why couldn't we have an open forum like this to ask those? Why did we wait until now? Because I kind of feel like, what's the purpose of my questions now? It's already settled.
I think there's lots of factors that go into it, not the least of which is just timing. When you're doing a search like this, I think there's a certain reality of making sure that we're being very respectful of the candidates that we're working with and in their time, and acknowledging that if we felt like Joel wasn't the right candidate, we needed to actually let him know that as quickly as possible, because we don't want to handcuff his journey and what God's doing in his life. And so, we looked at how do we make sure that we're hearing from everyone. Is there an opportunity to at least offer that? And that's why we've leaned on the Heritage Next forum as just a way for folks to continue to engage with us, to share your concerns. And I'm grateful. I don't know the numbers. It was a lot of, we had a lot of questions, 120-ish comments or questions. And so we felt like, we were able to get a really good, cross-section of kind of what people are thinking. And then the other thing is that these Heritage Next, if you look at, we try to do them about every 4 months. There are some just logistical challenges that we acknowledge that it adds to staff and it adds to our child care workers. And so we want to make sure that when we do have them, there's sufficient information that we can share. And honestly, we could have done that. Maybe it would have worked out. It's just as we thought through the process, we felt like just, making sure that we were soliciting the feedback in some format or another was most important to making sure that we came to the right place.
Just to be clear, I think I gave him the wrong number, so I think it was more like 80 to 90-ish for the most recent version.
I have a comment and a question. We're really good at Heritage to provide opportunities to gather with people that are like us, whether it's age or gender, etc. We're not that good at getting us all together or giving opportunity for people to move and study God's word and interact and across those different groupings. And I think that's something that I miss. I know I'm going to sign up for Wednesday's dinner because that's when you can do those things. Over food is the best way, but I think as a congregation, to pull us together, we need to do less silo and more bigger groups across different barriers, and
That's great feedback.
I was just going to say, we haven't talked about it a whole lot, Mark, but following Ash Wednesday, there'll be 5 Wednesday nights that we're going to continue that same thing, having dinner together, having a short teaching or video teaching, asking questions around the table, praying for each other, and probably taking communion together. So you're invited. It's NT 260 Lent. There's just always so many things to communicate that it's hard to like say everything. But those will be the 5 following Wednesdays after Ash Wednesday. So we'd love to have you come, 5:30, dinner, and teaching, discussion. There you go.
Yeah. What? Yes, sir. Are we still, as a congregation, still giving 20% in offerings to missions?
That's a great question. So I think we talked about this in the June meeting of Heritage Next. Bruce, I think it's right now 12, 15?
Well, we're at 18%.
18%. Thank you.
18%.
Okay.
See, that's why I have him up here. 18% is currently, and of course we are looking to get back to that 20% mark.
Hey, I was wondering if you could share about, since some of our pastors and leaders have left in this last year, I know love having Dustin as our family pastor and Zoe now as our spiritual formation pastor. Was wondering if you could just share just the different leaders and that are now in place and what they're over in the church.
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. You see some of our leadership team, and again, we transitioned to this to really just help us navigate this season, and we've been just so blessed. The leadership, the team has really come together really well and is doing a great job. Yes, Zoe is over spiritual formation.
Which that is the healing care groups, life groups, men's ministry, women's ministry, grief share, divorce care.
All of that.
Those things.
All of that. Yeah. Dustin is next gen.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yes.
So the care ministry also is a huge, chaplains and all that space too also falls under spiritual formation.
Dustin, you want to share what you're on?
Yeah, I'm the family next gen pastor, so anything from like kids, students, college, parenting, marriage, all of those sort of things are part of what I'm kind of overseeing right now.
We have Caleb in the back. Caleb is over technology and over the weekend service, and so all of the planning for the weekend service. Yes, he deserves many rounds of applause. We have, oh yeah, it's all right up there. Yeah, John Buckles, as you all know, he is focusing a lot of his attention on Journey and that part of our church. Ro Yarger over there, she has been leading tremendously in the area of operations and just the church management, all of the details that we have going on. And then finally, Andy is over missions, and that's global, local, everything around missions at Heritage.
I have a question, sorry.
Yes.
So now that our plane has landed and we have a pastor, I noticed that over the years, I would say I've been here for 6 years, that the elders, since we are elder-led, is there a cap on the elders? We've had a lot of elders, like, I don't know if they've left, retired, moved. How does someone become an elder? Because that's really important to me in general to make sure, like, my perspective is also being heard now that we have the name pastor.
Yeah, that's a great question. And so, yeah, if you notice, yeah, we've kind of shrunk the elder board over the last season. And a lot of that's actually to do with some of the consultants that we've brought in to help just navigate this season. One of the things that they kind of encouraged us was your elder board's a little large. It's hard to make good decisions when you have so many voices at the table. It can really slow down and actually become a burden and a hindrance. So we are currently at 6 elders, and so there was that picture up there. Caleb, there it is. You can see the 6 of us. So we have a established process for vetting new elders, and part of that process is, the elder board works with pastoral leadership, staff, key leaders within the congregation to nominate folks. Basically, we're looking at within the congregation people that we see exhibiting the behaviors of a biblical elder. And some of that is we're looking at people who are, how they're serving, If you're not serving at Heritage in some capacity, you're probably not going to get asked to be an elder here. You need to be engaged. You need to be giving to the body. You need to be serving the body. That's an indicator that you're a part of this congregation, right? So there's things like that. Ability to teach, ability to communicate, obviously your walk with the Lord, things like that. And so we take those nominations and then we go into a process of prayer and of discussion and of conversation. And we maybe have conversations with some folks as a part of that process to determine if they're interested. Because this is one of those, we're called to serve as elders, but any call you have to be willing to respond to. And for various reasons, people may not be willing to respond to that call because of timing and things like that. And so it's important that we engage. But we go through that process of prayer, of consideration, and then ultimately, when we feel like there's somebody that we want to put forward, the elder board actually puts it forward to the congregation, and we invite a season of feedback from the congregation on their candidacy. And then if, based on all of that, we continue to feel like God is calling this person, and that person continues to feel called to the process, then we would invite them to join the board. So that's kind of a long answer. Anything you want to add to that, Bruce?
No, well done.
Got one over here.
That is to be determined. Yeah, I think we're still navigating it right now. Like, this is obviously where we need to be for this season. But there's some of us that have been doing this for a lot of years, and so I think we recognize that we need to begin looking at that next class of elders, just to prepare the way. And so now that we have a little bit of moment to breathe, I'm not going to promise anything, but that's probably one of those things that's going to be on our agenda here in the coming months.
What do you anticipate happening in, I'll say, middle school, high school? I recall there had been some staff departures. Do we envision filling that back up? I know you had addressed that before, but what do you see?
Yeah, go ahead, Dustin.
So we have a high school director. He's been here. He started January 1st. He's actually gone this weekend. He's on the board of Round Lake. It's another Christian camp, and so he's there this weekend. But he led the high school retreat last weekend, and so he's here. We're still working on middle school. We're going to kind of wait until Joel gets here to kind of figure out. So I'm leading middle school at the moment with Andy. Andy and I are leading together, and then we'll make some plans after that once Joel gets here. And I didn't want to jump too far ahead of where Joel's at. He might have some ideas, or might have someone that he might even want to bring in and be a part of the team. And so that's kind of where we're at with the middle school.
Over here.
I have to.
Oh, sorry. Was there one?
He was just asking if we're committed to that area of ministry.
Absolutely.
So
yeah. If you go back again, rewatch our June Heritage Next, you really get the sense of the value that we put on Heritage Kids and the student ministry as essential to the health of our congregation and our future mission.
In a time of transition, I know that we're really concerned about maintaining groups that we already have. I was just wondering, in all the conversations with Joel, is there an area of ministry that he wants to further develop or establish here at Heritage?
I don't recall anything standing. I mean, that was kind of one of those things where when he looked at Heritage and was a part of his own kind of evaluation of us as a congregation, was there's really just, I think, what I would say is a God-level alignment, that we were already really engaged in and doing the things that are of high value to him, and that's why it made it a really an easy decision on their part. I'd say easy. I'm sure there was lots and lots of nights of prayer, but you know, it was really, I think, important for him was that there was such alignment, and so I don't recall in the process anything coming up of like, hey, here's something that I want to bring to the table. I think he really just wants to elevate the great things that we're already doing here at Heritage.
I'm an accountant, so that's where this question is coming from. I would like to know if you can share with the church how much the church spent on the nationwide church search for the next lead pastor.
Specifically, I don't know the exact number, but our portion was 24. What percent is it? It's 30% of his salary is what it cost us to do the nationwide search. That's the way that the contract was written. So it's a 30% one time of what his annual salary would be, and that's pretty standard within search firms.
Yeah, that went to the company that we hired.
Goes to the company that
So
yeah.
they charge us.
Yeah.
Sharing.
If they shared the amount, then you would know how much he's being paid. So they were trying not to do that. I think that's the idea. Yeah. So it's 30% of whatever they're going to pay him.
And there were obviously additional expenses, like, you know, obviously flying his family out here for the weekend and some other things. This was all planned ahead of time. We budgeted for these expenses because we knew this was going to be part of the reality of our season that we're in. All of the rest of the financial stuff, we're happy to share all of that as far as kind of mission budget, you know, our kind of year-to-date budget. We're about almost 6 months through, so almost halfway through our fiscal year. And so, you know, we're happy to share all of those details as well.
Hi, my question is kind of about like leadership and plan for preaching, I guess, going forward. It kind of piggybacking off of some other questions, but previously there'd been 2 lead pastors at Heritage. It sounds like we're having 1 moving forward, but I just kind of wanted to like basic confirm that.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And then it sounds like we're probably hoping to kind of refill some of the positions that have been vacated, like middle school and maybe some of the other, because it's a lot on the staff we currently have, but obviously lead pastors kind of taken precedent. But are there plans to kind of rebuild staff like in the future going forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, so one of the things that we have to look at as a congregation, and when I say as a congregation, as the elder board and then the staff, is we actually have to look at how much of our budget is spent on salaries. And you know, the more we spend on salaries, which is we value tremendously all of our staff, and we think they deserve probably even more than what we're able to compensate them for the work that they do. But we have to balance that with the tithes and offerings that are coming in the door, and we don't want to hinder ourselves from being able to do and invest in the things that God has called us to as a church. And so that's going to always be a part of the equation. Is we know that there's always more work to be done than what our current staff can handle. That will always be true. And so we have to just be wise about how we're investing and making sure we're investing in the right spaces and in the right things to help us fulfill the mission and the vision that God has called us to. So that's kind of contextualized. Obviously, we you know, one of the things that Dustin just answered is, you know, we will be looking at that middle school position because, again, it's a high value position for us. But, you know, we got a great team already in place, and we're excited to see how Joel's going to really work with them and help them to continue to elevate, you know, and living into their calling and the ways that they can contribute. And as we go along, as we see needs and as we see, and that's really going to be Joel, you know, the way that we're structured as a church, he's the one that kind of makes those recommendations as a pastor. Is, hey, I need this role. Here's what I want to invest in it, and here's why, and we make that decision. So, we'll be, looking at that. Obviously, staffing, so much doesn't happen here without our staff, and we're so grateful for them. And but we can't really say yet what that future is going to hold. A lot of factors are going to go into that.
Yeah, that all makes sense. And then, sorry, I was just going to ask real quick, for preaching, since Joel's lead, I'm assuming he'll be doing the majority of preaching.
Yeah. So, again, the way we look at it as a church is we want those lead pastors to be spending a majority of the time in the pulpit for various reasons. But the most important is that's the best way for them to continue to cast the vision of the church and communicate that and lead that and steward that. And so that is a high expectation that he will be in the pulpit. But we also set the expectation that he sets and creates a preaching team, and that he's developing a bench of people who are, staff and congregants and elders and other people who can help carry that load, so that it's not on him. It's not sustainable, as you can probably imagine, for all of that to be on that lead pastor. And so he'll be helping to shape that.
Real quick, we'll do a time check. It's 12:46. 2 more questions? Okay.
If I could, first of all, thank you very much for being willing to stand up there and answer questions and just be open and communicate as much as you can, as soon as you can. So thank you for that. Number 2, with missions being so integral to our history and our who we are, et cetera, could you go deeper into Joel's perspective on missions and what he thought about our missions program, and maybe anything he commented on that he would like to see or do?
I think you got a little sense of it in his video, but he comes from a line of missionaries. His grandparents were missionaries to Thailand. His mother grew up there, so it is baked into his DNA. His dad was a pastor, so this is something that's been central to who he is. And I could tell you, he lives and breathes the gospel, and that the call for the body of Christ to be living the gospel well to the world around us, and to be sharing that gospel both in word and in deed is fundamental to who he is. And so that will continue to be who we are as Heritage, right? That is, I think, who we try to be as a congregation. And not just, we want to be invested locally. We want to empower each and every one of us to be missionaries, to be living on mission in the various places that God has set us down. But he also calls us to actually send, right? To go. And so we always want to be a church that is going to the ends of the earth, that is investing in the places where the gospel maybe hasn't reached yet, that we're investing in indigenous missionaries and helping to, finance and support them. I think that's always going to still be the case, even under Joel's leadership. One more?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for all your hard work, your help, your perseverance in a time that would be very stressful for anyone, and also thank the staff for persevering throughout the whole process. And I know people want answers, and some of them are their questions might be based on fear, whatever, but I appreciate you standing firm and doing what you need to do and look at the whole picture and focus on the kingdom of God when you're looking at this. So it's just, I couldn't imagine the stress you guys went through, and also how it affected staff members and things like that. So just thank you for your perseverance, and thank you for living in the kingdom of God.
Thank you. Okay, one more.
Sorry, I have to not let Bob have the last word. When I started coming here about 20 years ago, it was standing room only at all services, all 3 services. And it was a wonderful thing. It was a wonderful place to raise my family. What type of discussions did you have with Joel about bringing back that type of membership and that type of attendance?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think that's something. There's a lot of energy when you're a part of a church like that, right? And there's a lot of churches out there that are growing like crazy numerically, and that's great, because the reality is that means that there's people hearing the gospel preached each and every week, and that's something that we value. But at the same time, we want to also be a church that's going very deep. We want to make sure that each and every person here has the opportunity to grow in that next step in their faith journey. And so, there's things that we can do, to kind of emphasize one or the other. And we're going to try to be a church that really emphasizes both. We're going to put the emphasis on growing spiritually, because we really do believe if we're all growing spiritually, it means that we're having an impact in the world around us, and then we will grow numerically. We don't want to focus on growing numerically and getting to be this really huge church, but that's only an inch deep. We really want to be a church that's about depth. And so that's going to be our focus. I would love to see that Heritage is standing room only, but I want to see it because it means all of us are out there living out the gospel each and every day, impacting the lives of everybody we come across. And when they see us and they talk to us and they say, what is going on? And you say, hey, it's what God's doing in our lives. Why don't you come join us at Heritage? And then that's the kind of growth that we want. All right. Thank you all for the great questions.
Yes, thank you. Hey, wanted to let you know that we can continue a bit of a celebration out in the lobby. We've got some stations set up so you can write notes to Joel and welcome him aboard. We also have a station set up where you can video a little, hey, I'm Bruce Hall, and I'm really glad you're here, and I wanted to give you a face to go with the name. So please take advantage of that. There's some snacks, there's some coffee still, I believe. So hang out with us for just a little bit longer and celebrate with us.
Thanks all. Have a great week.